Hello everybody. I hope everyone is doing well. There's a slight delay on my live stream between what you're seeing and when I'm speaking, about 20 seconds. And so I will be responding to comments, but there may be a little bit of a delay sometimes before I see your comment. But my name is Danny. Welcome to this live stream on how to use artificial intelligence or AI in your writing. We're going to jump into it in just a second, but I know that there are still a few people getting connected, and I do want to give them just a couple more seconds to be able to get connected. So as a quick introduction, I am a teacher at a bilingual school in El Salvador. I teach high school English, and I created a course earlier this year on how to write better research papers. This is a quick preview of the course right here. At the end of the live stream, we're going to take some time to talk about this course, how it can benefit you and help you with your writing. And also, I have a special offer on the course available for everyone that is connected to this live stream or who's watching the replay shortly after, because I know we also have some people from other parts of the world that had RSVP'd this event who are probably going to see the replay because it's the middle of the night there. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into the topic for today, which is how to write with artificial intelligence. And I titled this Tips for High School and College Students because this really is talking about academic writing. That's really the focal point of this presentation. I'm not talking so much about writing in general, like writing emails and things like that. There's all sorts of different things that you can do with AI. If you saw the ad or the description, that for some of you was how you found this webinar, you may even noticed that was written with AI. So there's lots of different types of uses that you can have with AI. But our focus is going to be specifically academic writing for high school and college students. That's going to be our focal point for today. So first of all, I want to start with a definition of artificial intelligence. And I know that if you're tuning into this, there's a good chance that you already have some level of familiarity with what is artificial intelligence, or at least you've heard the term. But just to make sure that everyone's on the page, artificial intelligence we're going to define as the theory and development of computer systems able to perform tasks that normally require human intelligence. This definition was taken from the Oxford Language Dictionary, and what you can see kind of really the principle that I want everyone to take away from this slide is that artificial intelligence is about doing tasks that would normally require critical thinking, right? There's tasks that normally we would think of as something that has to be done by a human, like writing, for example, because it requires a high level of critical thinking and language understanding and things of that nature, that now is able to be done to an extent through computer systems and through automation as a result of this new technology that is artificial intelligence. And I say new technology loosely because artificial intelligence has actually existed for about 75 years. A lot of people don't realize that. They think of it as something that's new, and there's actually no definite agreed upon starting point for this type of technology. Different people will put different dates or different inventions as the first artificial intelligence, but the universal agreement, regardless of what exact date you're looking at, is that AI has existed for about 75 years. The reason why it's become such a buzzword recently is because of the launch of ChatGPT in November 2022, which is an extremely powerful form of AI that has definitely started to transform and will continue to transform the way that education takes place and the way that writing takes place. I know that I, as a teacher, right around January, after we came back from Christmas break, I started to see students that were using ChatGPT or other forms of artificial intelligence to write essays. It wasn't a problem that I had ever noticed previously as a teacher, but it was something that I began to notice relatively frequently in other teachers that I spoke to as well after the launch of ChatGPT, because that's really what put artificial intelligence on the map for a lot of people. Now, if you go into Google, you're going to notice that there are actually lots of types of platforms that are similar to ChatGPT in that they can generate writing content. If you do a quick search for artificial intelligence that can write an essay for you, so we'll just do that right now. Artificial intelligence to write my essay. You're going to see that there's a whole lot of options that come up, right? And so ChatGPT is not necessarily unique, but it is something that was a lot more famous, a lot more well known than any of these other sources. And my page is not loading here, so you can do that search on your own if you'd like. But the point is that this type of technology is now prevalent, and it has a lot of people wondering what the implications are for education. You can see here that has come up some other alternative platforms. Now, all these platforms, including ChatGPT, are what I'm going to refer to throughout this presentation as generative AI. Generative AI. And the reason why we're using this term is because it can generate content. That's kind of the principle here of generative AI. It's not copying information from other sources. For example, like a search engine would do. When a search engine, you search something, it's giving you a list of other sources. Whereas with generative AI, it's creating something that's original that has not been written before. And so that essentially makes it so that it's not going to get flagged in a traditional plagiarism detector, which is why a lot of students have begun trying to use this in their papers. So I do want to talk about what are the benefits of artificial intelligence and what are the drawbacks. What are ways it can help you and what are pitfalls to avoid. And we're going to start out with generative AI, which would be the type of AI that's used in ChatGPT, since that is the most commonly known, we'll say. It's not the only type of AI we're going to talk about in this live stream, but it's the first one. And I'm going to real quickly make my camera a little bit smaller, because I think I am cutting off some of the text in the slides here. So let me take care of that. Alright, so what are some reasons why you should not use artificial intelligence? The first reason that we're going to talk about is kind of the ethical reason, and it's the fact that if you're doing it to deceive a teacher, if a teacher thinks that you're writing something and it's actually AI that's writing something, it's really no different than if you had another student write your essay for you, which would be the equivalent of cheating, right? And you also don't learn anything. If you're not learning about good writing skills, and you're also not learning the topic. So let's say you're writing an essay about World War II, and you use artificial intelligence to write it for you, well, then you didn't learn anything about writing skills, and you didn't learn anything about World War II. And so long term, it's not really doing you a service to do that. And I think that if somebody took the time to tune into a live stream outside of school hours, you're probably someone who's a good student who really does want to learn. And so this is something that hopefully means something to you. But even if you're just focused on the grade, you're not really concerned about this aspect of it, there are some reasons from a grading perspective why using AI can result in a bad grade. First of all, artificial intelligence frequently produces inaccurate information. The more that it develops, the less that will probably be the case, but currently that is the case. If we look on ChatGPT, for example, you'll see right on the very first page when you open up the app, it says may occasionally generate incorrect information, and it also says that it has limited knowledge of world and events after 2021. Two comments. First of all, as far as this may occasionally generate incorrect information, I've used AI quite a bit because I want to understand it. I want to kind of have a leg up on the students. And I will tell you that I would say more than occasionally. I've seen a lot of inaccurate information produced by ChatGPT when I've been using it. So obviously if you submit something that has inaccurate information in your writing, it's not going to result in you getting the best grade. And then the second aspect here, the idea that it has limited knowledge of world and events after 2021, that's a significant problem as well, especially on the college level. A lot of fields or disciplines that you're writing about have drastically changed since 2021 as a result of the pandemic, more than anything else. The way that education is done has changed drastically. The way that business practices are done has changed drastically. There's lots of different fields of technology that have changed drastically, with this being one example, right? Obviously, in 2021, ChatGPT did not exist. And so the fact that there's limited knowledge of the world and events after 2021 also creates a substantial problem for you if you're trying to use this to generate essays. It's going to result in potentially inaccurate information or incomplete information or outdated information, which is going to result in you not having a good grade. The next point here, and I'm not going to open up the slideshow full screen, so I'm going to be switching back in just a second to ChatGPT, but you'll see the third point. There's no citations when you create something in ChatGPT. For the sake of time, I preloaded an essay in ChatGPT prior to this live stream, and if I click into that, the prompt that I gave it was to write an essay about the legacy of Nelson Mandela. Now, if you look at what has been written here, you're going to notice that there's no citations anywhere, and that's a problem. On the college level, if you are writing something that requires research, it's absolutely obligatory and not optional to include citations for where your information comes from. And if you do not have citations, that can result in you completely failing the assignment, even if the information is accurate. And so it's very important that you have citations in your writing, which is something we talk about actually in my course. And you'll notice that what ChatGPT has generated does not have citations. That would create a significant problem for you. Now, what I have seen some people do is they make up citations, and they pull up sources and just start plugging in citations in random places. The problem with that is that professors on the college level are generally going to be experts in their field. They're usually going to have a PhD or another terminal degree, which means that they have extensively studied the topic that they're teaching and that you're writing about. And so if they see a bunch of sources that they never heard of before, a bunch of academic journals that they're not familiar with, or information that just doesn't seem accurate, coming back to what we said a minute ago about how the ChatGPT doesn't always produce accurate information, there's a good chance that they're going to pick up on it. There's a good chance that they're going to notice that something's up, and they're going to dig a little bit deeper. And when they do dig a little bit deeper, that brings us to our final point here, which is that artificial intelligence is easily detectable. And to give you an example, I'm going to go ahead and paste this essay that ChatGPT just created, and we're going to paste it into another website called ZeroGPT. This is a website that is designed to determine if a piece of writing was written by artificial intelligence. This is not the only website that does this. There's lots of sources that do this, and this is a free source. Actually, paid sources are even more accurate. But you're going to notice instantaneously it's able to detect that this was generated by artificial intelligence. It says 100% of what was written was AI generated. And if there was less of a percentage, then it would highlight in yellow precisely what was the part that was AI generated. Now, in this particular case, 100% was AI generated, and so it's going to have everything highlighted in yellow. But if you actually scroll down and you read through the technology behind the AI detection and how it works, you're going to find that it's really accurate. It's not perfect still, but it's getting closer and closer to perfect with more and more development. And there will probably become a day where it is basically perfect, right? And so AI detection technology is already available for professors to be able to identify if you used AI to write an essay. And in most institutions, that would be considered plagiarism, which can even result in your immediate expulsion from the institution, depending on how severely the institution treats plagiarism. One of the things we talk about actually in my course is how important it is to avoid plagiarism, and what are the steps you want to take to safeguard yourself and make sure that you never unintentionally fall into it, right? And so using generative AI would be an easy way to fall into it. So I know it sounds like we've talked about a lot of ways not to use AI, and you may be thinking, I thought this webinar was about how to use AI. So what's that about? So now we're going to get into what are the ways that we can use our AI, good uses. And we're going to talk first of all about generative AI, which again would be this type of artificial intelligence that ChatGPT falls under. The first good use of generative AI is to brainstorm topic ideas. As a teacher, one of the things that I see very frequently is that students really sometimes struggle with figuring out what they want to write about. And so if you go into something like ChatGPT and you say, for example, I'm going to open up a new chat here. Give me topic ideas for a research paper in my digital marketing class. We go ahead and click enter, and it's going to spit out a whole bunch of different ideas, right? And then we can read through these ideas. We can get some that maybe we like, some that maybe pique our interest. We can even reimagine some of them and make some tweaks to them. This essentially is the same as what you've always been able to do on Google since Google was created, where you can just go to Google and search for topic ideas. The only difference is that this takes out having to switch around to a bunch of different websites, right? It just instantaneously does it for you. If you don't like the topics that it's given you, you can go ahead and click regenerate response, and it'll go ahead and just give you a whole bunch of new ones. You keep doing that until you find one that you like, right? And so that is one legitimate use of generative AI. And unfortunately, for the time being, that is all really that this particular type of AI can do for you. I do think, though, that the next step in this development is probably going to be that it can spit out for you a list of scholarly sources to save you a lot of time on doing research. So currently, when you are trying to research for a research paper, and we have a whole unit about this, by the way, in my course, the best way to do it currently is with an academic search engine, where you go and you guarantee that all of the results are going to be related to your topic. The challenge, though, with academic search engines that I've seen a lot of students run into is that not all of them filter out paid results from free results. And so you can lose a lot of time really going through sources trying to find ones that you can actually use that you don't have to pay for. And I think that AI is going to get to a point where it can just spit out those sources for you. Right now, though, it's not at that point. If we go here, I actually have preloaded another prompt that I gave ChatGPT, where I asked it to give me a list of free scholarly sources about digital marketing. Give me a list of academic sources for research paper about digital marketing. Now, on the surface, this looks good. The problem is that a lot of these sources are not real. If we take one, for example, and we copy and paste it back into Google, you're going to notice that no search results come up because this source does not exist. It's a fictitious source that ChatGPT created, coming back to this idea that sometimes artificial intelligence creates inaccurate information. Now, there's other sources that were in that list that are actually real sources if you search for them. But the problem is that there's so many fake ones mixed in that it's almost useless, right, at this point. So I do think that it's going to get to a point where that's another legitimate use of generative AI. But for now, that's not really something that you can do. That brings us, though, to the next type of artificial intelligence. This is really where I want to spend, I don't want to say the majority of our time, because we've already spent quite a bit of time on generative AI. But corrective AI is the type of AI that really is beneficial, in my opinion, for students that want to write. And when I say corrective AI, what I mean by that is artificial intelligence that can correct your grammar, your structure, your style, your tone, and basically do the job that a teacher would normally have done, right? Normally, you would have to submit your work and a teacher would have to give you feedback. But now artificial intelligence can give you feedback. Instead of having to wait to turn in for a teacher, you can actually do everything yourself with artificial intelligence. And so, to give you an example of that, I have here a document in Google Docs, and this document is called Sample Writing with Mistakes, because there are some mistakes in this if you actually read through it. You're going to notice that there's nothing though that's underlined right now by Google's spelling and grammar check. Google Docs, Microsoft Words, they've always had spelling and grammar checks built into them, which students have always used since they've existed to help improve their writing. But they're not super powerful. Like the spelling mistakes they're good with, but the grammar mistakes, they don't really catch a lot of higher level grammar mistakes. And so if you look here at this particular example, I did not go through and hit ignore all or anything like that. None of these mistakes that are in this document actually had any problems whatsoever that were highlighted by Google Docs. What we're going to do here is we're going to copy and paste this over into another website, which is called Quillbot. It's actually their logo that you saw a minute ago when I had the slide for Corrective AI up. And I'm going to go ahead and share their link right now so that you can actually go ahead and go right to that website and follow along. If we go over into Quillbot, and you're going to notice there's several tabs here on the left. I'm in the grammar checker because that's what I believe to be the most accurate, or accurate is not the right word, the most helpful, I would say, for students. We're going to copy and paste that that piece of writing. And what you're going to see really quickly once the page loads is that there are quite a few errors in this text. It's loading right here. Once this finishes loading, you're going to see that there's quite a few errors that were not picked up by Google Docs. Alright, so it says here that there are 7 errors in this document. And as we look through, we can see that it's going to have all of those errors underlined in red. So we can actually click into them, see what the mistake is, choose to correct it, and then copy and paste it back over. Now, if you go through these tabs in the end, you're going to notice that there's some other tools besides the grammar checker. The grammar checker, I said, is the most helpful. But the other tool that's really helpful is the Chrome extension or Microsoft Word extension, which I also have downloaded on my computer. So if we go back into Google Docs, I'm going to activate that Chrome extension, and you're going to see here that all of those mistakes that were underlined when we pasted it into the grammar checker are also going to come up right here in Chrome. Once it finishes loading completely, you're going to see that all of those mistakes are underlined right here in Google Docs. So by downloading the extension, you basically avoid having to copy and paste back and forth. Everything's going to be right in Google Docs. Now you're going to notice one thing that may raise some question marks. When we pasted it into the website, it said there were 7 errors. But when we pasted it in when we turned on the extension here in Google Docs, it said that there were 8. And so you may be wondering, why is there a mismatch? And the reason is because the extension rolls 2 into 1. They roll in the grammar checker, and they also roll in the paraphraser. And so what the paraphraser is going to do here is going to underline any of our sentences that they feel like could be written better. And if we click into it, it's going to give us a rewrite suggestion. Now, the paraphraser is one of the options that unfortunately is very limited on the free version of Quillbot. Quillbot's free version will give you the grammar checker, but if you want to use the paraphrase checker as well, then you do have to unfortunately upgrade to premium. The reason why I chose Quillbot though as the example for this webinar, because there's lots of other forms of corrective AI out there that can also be used, is that Quillbot's premium pricing is a lot lower than a lot of its competitors. And so it is a good resource that can help you a lot with your writing without having to pay so much. Just to really quickly fly through some of the other tools that are on their website, you'll notice they have a plagiarism checker, a co-writer, and a summarizer. And then lastly, citation generator, and translator. I do want to mention as a caution that I'm not a big fan of the co-writer or summarizer, because they really fall back into the category of generative AI, and you run into a lot of the same problems that you have with ChatGPT, for example. The grammar checker is really the best tool, and the paraphraser has value if it's not overused. If you use it too frequently, you can run into problems because number one, AI detection technology is going to say that your paper was written by AI, and number two, because it's analyzing each sentence individually, it's not always able to make all of the sentences collectively flow well together. And so sometimes you end up with choppy writing if you are relying on the paraphraser for your writing. But this is what I would call corrective AI. This is, in my opinion, the most helpful form of artificial technology at this time for students who need help with writing. It's something that I recommend to my students a lot, and I hope that this has been helpful for you. And so to wrap up, I do want to take some questions. If anyone has questions, like I said, I know a lot of people that RSVP'd are on the other half of the world, and so if you are watching this on replay, you can still leave a comment, and I'll go ahead and answer those questions when I see it. But lastly, as I'm waiting for some questions to come in, I do want to mention what I said at the beginning, that I have this resource available for students who need help with writing. It is a course called How to Write Better Research Papers. I'm going to go ahead and share the link as well as a featured link on the live stream. But there's a couple of different options on this website. You have the option to do a free preview if you want to just check out the course without any financial commitment. This will give you the opportunity to do one of the 9 modules completely free. And you're also going to notice that there's a 7-day money-back guarantee, which means that if you're not completely satisfied with the value of the product, you can get a full refund within 7 days of purchase, no questions asked. And as a special offer for people who connected to this live stream, and when I say connected, I'm also including people who watch it on replay shortly after, I have a special coupon code that I'm going to be giving out. It is AI Webinar. AI Webinar. So if you use this coupon code when you purchase the full course, it's going to give you 50% off. This is the biggest discount they've ever given. It's actually the first time I've ever offered a discount for this course. And so if you use this code AI Webinar, it's going to give you 50% off. But there are 2 things that you need to be aware of. Number one, this code expires on Sunday. So as of recording, today is Thursday, and this is only going to be available through the weekend. So on Sunday, this code is going to expire. And then secondly, this is only good for the first 3 people to use it. So if you are the 4th person to use it, unfortunately, the code will no longer work. This is only a very limited offer to reward those of you that came and stuck around till the end. AI Webinar coupon code can only be used 3 times. And so that concludes my presentation. And looking at the comments here, it doesn't look like there's any questions at this point, which is fine. So I'll go ahead and end the live. And if anyone has questions as you're watching the replay, you can go ahead and leave a comment, and I would be happy to check it out and to give you some feedback. Have a great day, and I hope this has been helpful and it can help you with your writing.